Hey everyone, welcome to our lecture today on World War I and the main causes. Now, militarism is not anything new. It is the glorification of the armed forces. Now, what's different about World War I is the fact that they've added all these new technologies. And basically, it's just like a kid at Christmas time. They get new toys, they want to play with them. So, before the Great War happened, they invent different types of gases. They're going to start being able to use planes in combat. Machine guns are invented, flamethrowers. They're going to get more into submarine combat. They're also going to create destroyers. So there's all these new things. Oh, and tanks, and they just want to go and use them. The same way that when you were a kid, whatever toys you got, you wanted to pull out and start playing with them right away. All right. So you need to have these large, powerful militaries too to play with these toys, but also because it's a competition. Hey, my military can beat up your military because we're cooler than you guys. All right, we're going to talk about the alliance system. The two alliances are the Triple Entente, which is France, Britain, and Mother Russia, and the Triple Alliance, which is Germany, Austria, and the Ottomans. Now, one of the big problems with this alliance system is that they're very secretive. It's so no one who knows who's allied with whom. So, for instance, the French are going to be allied with the Russians in case of attack by the Germans. So what they have is this alliance that says basically if Germany attacks either France or Russia, then the other will join in on their side. So if Germany attacks France, then France and Russia attack Germany. If Germany attacks Russia, then France and Russia attacks Germany. Or if France attacks Germany, then Russia has to join in, or Russia attacks Germany, therefore France has to come in. You also have what's known as the blank check, and we'll get more into that. But basically, Germany and Austria are very much tied together. And so this is happening, and the Ottomans are, and it just makes sense because geographically they're all located next to each other. The wild card in this is going to be Britain because the Germans do not believe that the British will ally with the French because the French and the British have fought each other for 200 out of the past 1,000 years. Whether you're talking about the War of the Roses, which is the 100 Years' War, whether you talk about the 30 Years' War, whether you talk about the Napoleonic Wars, or the 7 Years' War, or even the American Revolution, time after time, they've been against each other. We've already seen imperialism as well, and this is again just domination of one country by another. They had been taking over, Europeans had been taking over Africa, and they've also been getting involved in Asia especially. So China, Japan, to a lesser extent, we'll get more into that, what happened with them. And of course, they're getting all this land and territory and resources because at the end of the day, you want land so you can have more things, whether it's to sell goods, whether it's to get goods, whether it's to get resources, whether it's gold or diamonds, or in the modern sense, maybe oil. So one of the big things they always said about the British Empire, the sun never sets on the British Empire because one quarter of the world is controlled by Britain. And if, the reason they said the sun never sets is because it was always sunny somewhere in the British Empire. And this, again, you can see from this picture, it's massive. France is also going to have a decent sized chunk. They've got a lot of Africa, and of course, they've got Vietnam, and of course, France, and they actually have a little bit in South America as well. Now, here's what's going to become somewhat of an issue. Germany doesn't have a whole lot happening here, and that's going to become a source of jealousy in a little bit here, because if everybody's about imperialism, everybody's trying to compete over resources, well, they just don't have as much. And that's going to be a problem, especially for the Kaiser. All right, and let's talk about nationalism. So, nationalism is pretty simple. It's the fact that you love your country. If you didn't love your country, then you want to be nationalistic. All right, nationalism by itself is not a bad thing. It just means you love your country. But the problem is when it will be taken to the extreme. Now, Otto von Bismarck actually is going to help create the modern nation of Germany. Before that, it was Prussia, which is just a third of what would become the German nation. Now, he was very powerful, very influential. You see in the political cartoon where he's carving up Africa, the other European nations are there, and this is going to preserve the peace. But as he gets older, Kaiser Wilhelm is going to want more power. The Kaiser is actually the leader of Germany. However, he kind of let Bismarck do what he wanted, but once he started getting older, Kaiser Wilhelm started wanting more power and wanted to basically prove his legacy, and so he is going to believe that they needed more than what they got. And so they're going to start putting pressure on different nations, especially Britain. And as I said before, remember, this is the big issue. Germany is very much a minuscule empire in comparison to the French and especially the British. Now, there's also nationalism that's occurring in Japan. All right, remember, Commodore Perry and the United States forces come in to Japan and they were trying to force Japan to trade. Remember, Japan had been isolated for a couple hundred years. They don't have the technological wherewithal, and they simply don't know what's happening, which is why you see this political cartoon where you see this giant monstrosity that's coming for Japan. Well, Emperor Meiji makes a brilliant move. He doesn't try to fight against the Americans the way the Chinese try to fight the British. And as a result, we're going to see Japan become a massively powerful industrialized nation. And he's going to copy the best of what he sees from around the world. He wants to copy the British naval system, copies the German officer system, copies the French type of governance, and also will copy different aspects of American economic life. All right. Now, we've got all these things coming together, and this is going to lead into why everything goes down. So, Serbia wanted because of nationalism, they wanted their own nation. They did not like being controlled by the Austro-Hungarian Empire. And there is a terrorist organization called the Black Hand, and they are going to actually assassinate the Archduke Francis Ferdinand. And this is the event that starts it all, because everything was going down in the Balkans. And that's why you see the little cartoon with the powder keg you see before. And, well, thrown into this, Germany gives Austria what's known as a blank check. Austria wanted to retaliate against Serbia, which makes sense because their future ruler had been killed by Serbian terrorists. And so they give this ultimatum to Serbia to agree to do these 10 things. Serbia agrees to 9 of the 10, and the 10th they do not agree to, which is they do not allow Austrian to investigate. This is very similar to the reason why we go to war in Iraq. They would not, because Iraq would not let in UN weapons inspectors. And as a result, we're going to see the Austrians are going to declare war. And they weren't afraid of Russia. But Germany says, hey, Austria, we got you. Do whatever you need to do. We'll back your play. And this is known as a blank check. And they do. The problem is Germany didn't understand that Russia had allied with France. So if for any reason Russia went to war with Germany, then France comes in as well. And that is going to be a massive problem because then we get the Ottomans pulled in, and then we get the British pulled in, and just keep pulling in more and more nations till eventually even the United States gets pulled in as well. All right, you're going to hear more about the Russian revolutions as well, but basically what had happened is the Romanovs had controlled Russia for centuries, since Peter the Great and before. And basically, you've got the ruler is not very good. Tsar Nicholas is not the most skilled ruler, and to be honest, he's in a very tough situation anyway. It would require someone who is much better than he was, and he wants to go into war because he basically is trying to preserve his monarchy. But what he doesn't understand is they're not ready. Technologically, they're not ready. They're not organized, and so his armies are going to be defeated and destroyed. And then eventually this is going to cause him to lose his life, Vladimir Lenin, and will kill him and his entire family, and Russia will become a communist nation. And you'll hear more about that later from Mr. Schofer. All right, well, World War I, we're going to see things change. For the first time in human history, we're going to see more people die on the battlefield than had actually died from disease, which is the first time we'll see this in human history. And that is a big deal. And the reason this is going to happen is because the weaponry is just now so advanced. You've got machine guns, you've got flamethrowers, you've got gas, you've got destroyers, you've got submarines, and actually you're going to start seeing planes used in greater numbers than they had before. Remember, the planes have just been invented in the last 15 years. And so they're going to see terrible things happen, which is going to affect the psyche of many people, which is going to be one of the reasons why we'll see World War II occur as well, because they don't want to do anything that might lead to a second war. And this is also, we're going to see terrible wounds and soldiers coming home, and just obviously you see the guy at the bottom. It does not look pretty. And you're going to see a significant numbers of military forces get killed or are severely wounded in combat. So this is something new. Now, finally, we're going to have the Treaty of Versailles. It's going to end the Great War, World War I. And people obviously were very excited initially. However, the Treaty of Versailles was not going to do what it was supposed to do according to Woodrow Wilson, which is basically be a peace without victory. The British and the French are very unhappy because, again, they've had millions that have been wounded and they've had millions that die, and so they're going to want to take revenge. And how do they do this? They're going to force the Germans to pay something called the Wehrgeld Clause, and this takes them until the year 2005 to pay it off. And this is going to lead to resentment and anger, especially because, as we talked about in a previous lecture, that the economic structure of Germany is going to collapse. And this is really one of the most important things about World War I, is the fact that it is a massive war in of itself. 37 million people will die. However, it leads to an even bigger war, World War II. And this ends our journey.